Hey traders, and welcome back to IFX Success, and let's talk about the Bollinger. How is this going to help us filter our block entries and how we're going to be able to use them with the robot? Okay, so this is a great way to be able to filter your entries and get more accurate entries. And let's just move on and let's see how we can do this. All right, so right now we're looking at M30. Let's just take a look at 1 hour. So the way I use the Bollingers, we're going to be using the 21 Bollinger, okay, period 21, and with the 2 standard deviation, okay. You can use any Bollinger that you desire. I will be using again the 21. So the way that this is going to work is that the robot, or the way I actually trade it, is that we will have to wait for the price, a candle actually closing outside of the Bollinger in order to trigger an entry. So let's just say, for example, right over here we have a reversal block happening, but it would not trigger an entry. Why? Because the price, that we actually use to use this block, it did not close outside of the Bollinger. So it would not be able to trigger an entry to buy or to sell. On this example, would be to sell. So if I go back a little bit, let's just say, for example, this one right here, this reversal block, it would trigger an entry. Why? Because the actual candle closed outside of the Bollinger. It created the reversal block, and then from there on, we were able to get an entry sell, right? So every time the price will close outside of the Bollinger, it will trigger an entry. Okay, so right here, this price closed outside of the Bollinger, it would create an entry right over here. This would be actually our reversal block, and you actually use this candle as well. So this would be an entry. It would go back into your initial it would be a drawdown until eventually it would actually drop again, right? So again, every time the price closes outside of the Bollinger, that will be the rule. Every time the price, not when it just wicks out of it, has to close outside of it. So right now, let's go test out the robot, right? So we have our robot. We're gonna go here to our properties, and what are we going to do is that I'm going to say entry on a reversal block, right, on 1 hour with the settings of 34, and I'm going to have everything else is false because we're only going to really focus on the Bollinger right now. So if I go to the Bollinger right here, I'm going to say, I'm going to take this out because I'm going to show you something later. So we're going to say Bollingers, yes. We're going to use this filter. We're going to use the higher time frame. We're going to use the same time frame to start on this example. Will be 1 hour, and will be the 21 period with the 2 standard deviation. Okay, so now we're going to go to OK. I'm going to run it just for a few months, just because it's going to take forever. So I'm going to run it from March to May, and I'm just going to started. I'm sorry, this is in Spanish, but it doesn't matter. So here it is, it's going, and we're gonna go and check out the results. So again, it just needs to make sure that a candle closes outside. And yes, we're gonna get some entries that are not great, that the market is not gonna give us what we're looking for, in terms of pips, but eventually we're gonna be able to even filter it even more. But let's just say, what kind of entries do we get when we just use the reversal block entry with the Bollinger? Okay, so now that is done, I'm gonna go here to the results, and we're gonna just check this out and see what we got. Okay, we started with the $50,000 account, and it ended with 51,000, right? So doesn't look that bad. This is the graphic, pretty much. It had some drawdown, eventually keep going on that. So let's just take a look at the chart quickly, just to kind of see what is it that we got over here. So using the Bollinger itself, it would be great. So like right over here, this is the 4-hour time frame. We can see it, as a bigger picture. What type of entries did we got? We got one over here where we could have let this run for a longer period of time. We got another sell entry over here. We could have run this for a longer period of time as well. A buy entry over here. And then we did get one over here, a sell entry, which the market went into a drawdown eventually here. It gave us another entry, and then we were able to, close it out. So, but let's go look under the 1 hour, and just to kind of see what is it that we get. I'm gonna put in here the Bollingers, and then you're gonna be able to see. So, this is not gonna have the the block drawing for us, but this would be 1. So once it breaks outside of this block, so we have the price close outside of the Bollinger, then this would have been the entry right here. We eventually could have maybe let this run for a little bit longer. And let's just check this out. What do we got over here? We have another one, another block happening right over here where it broke. Okay, so it broke right here, so this was the entry. So it went up again, we would have gotten another one in here. So since I actually put 34, that means I get a lot more entries. If maybe I would increase my block settings to a higher number, I might get less entries. So this was another one right over here. So this was this entry. So eventually, of course, you went to a drawdown, then you got another entry over here. So you can't expect every trade to work out. I mean, it's very hard, but we can add a filter to it that maybe we won't get those type of entries. Maybe we would, instead of getting this one, we might be able to get this one. Avoid the ones that could possibly go into a bigger drawdown, right? And right over here, we had another one that this would have been a great entry that pretty much we could have let this run for a long period of time. So this would have been a block entry right over here. And this was the entry. And then, pretty much this was the entry, to just let it run for a longer period of time. So that was it. So again, it needs to close outside of the Bollinger. The price or the body of the candle needs to close outside of the Bollinger. So now let's try this out. And just see now, because we use, what do we use? We use the same time frame Bollinger, right? So every time, the entry will be under the 1 hour block, and if it gets outside of the 1 hour Bollinger. But now we can actually get creative in here and use another type of filter, or change the same Bollinger filter. So I can say in here, maybe if I increase this to 60, so I will get less entries, hopefully. And I'm gonna go down again to my Bollingers, and now instead of using the 1 hour Bollinger, I'm gonna say use the 4 hour Bollinger instead. Okay, so I'm gonna go to OK, and we're gonna see if the entries were better or not in here. So let's kind of see what type of results do we get in here first before we actually run it. So the results in here, we made 1400 in here, with the 1% drawdown in here. So let's just kind of see what is it that we can get adding, and maybe instead of using 1 hour, instead using 4 hour filter. So let's run it again. All right, so let's kind of see now what do we get. Ooh, okay, so this was not such a great in here. It was not so great, right? So we got a negative result in here. It was not too great. We had 2% drawdown, and so it didn't really work out. So using the same time frame Bollinger in here, we were better off with that, right? So now, okay, so that didn't work out so well. Let's take a look in here, and maybe we can change it around a little bit better. And let's just say that since the 1 hour Bollinger worked out very nicely, now this just keeps on going without even me touching anything. Okay, so in here, what we're going to do is I'm going to have 1 hour Bollinger, and I am going to add in the RSI filter in here, right? Using the 1 hour and using the 21, which is a little bit, conservative on this mode. So now let's just kind of check what type of entries do we get. Adding the same Bollinger time frame, but now adding an RSI filter, so that maybe we can get less entries, like such as this one, that we can get less of a drawdown, and maybe hopefully we can get a better result with this, right? Because usually, well, using the 4 hour Bollinger was not as a great thing, right? Maybe it was the drawdowns were too big. Okay, so now let's check this out, and let's go see the graph. You know, it was nice steady graph going to the upside, and of course we would got less entries. We only made $188, and pretty much just made 4 entries in total, and the drawdown was very little. So definitely, you know, the entries in here was less entries. But of course, because I also gave it a 60, I increased this number. So I'm going to decrease it now to see if maybe I can get more entries just like before, but just with the RSI filter this time. Okay, so let's take this out. Let's check this out, the results in here. Definitely, I think it's almost the same entries, the same 4 entries. It really didn't matter anyways. So this is really conservative, you know, what we did, you know, adding the RSI. Now let's just change up the RSI to 14 instead of 21, and then maybe that we can get a different result in here, right? So this is one of the best things in here is that, I think I did the wrong one. That is that we can change it up. You know, we can get pretty much really creative with this type of robot. With this EA, it has different type of filters that once we analyze what is going on, you know, once you get the results, you can go and check it out and see how you can make it better. You know, add a different type of filter in here. You know, you have 8 filters in here, so you do have a lot of something that you can work around. You know, we're not gonna use every single filter because otherwise we will never get an entry. As you saw, we added just the RSI, and then we got like literally 4 entries when before we got a lot more entries in there. So by adding doesn't mean that when you add a lot of filters you're gonna get better results. You know, it doesn't mean like that. It's just that, you know, we're trying to understand the market. You know, the behavior of the market could be trending, you know, for a couple of days, or maybe it's ranging. So that's when we actually kind of really, we have to be active also trading, because if we analyze and say, you know, this could be a trending market now, maybe we can let that trade run for a longer period of time. Like this one, you know, we pretty much left a lot of pips on the table. But you know, there are times when we know that we have to close it earlier, or there are times when maybe we can have a clue, an idea that we can let that trade run for a longer period of time and not let those, you know, not leave pips on the table, right? So, and in here, maybe you could have closed this entry earlier and just say, you know what, this thing might just keep on going higher. Let me just close this earlier and not let it be on a drawdown, and then just pretty much wait for a better entry on the top, you know, on higher price, right? So one of those things that you have to play around with the market. Is not a set and forget EA. It's not something that, you know, the market behaves the same way every day. You know, that's something that you actually need to understand. And eventually, once you understand that, then you have a different mindset and you're going to be able to make the pips that you're looking for. Okay, so let's take a look at the graph in here. Ooh, I didn't like this drawdown. Let's just kind of see. We got 1% drawdown. We only made $644 in here. So using the RSI in here as 14, you know, it was, you know, we were able to get a little bit more money. The drawdown was a little bit higher than we expected. This is something that, you know, we can play around in here. So that is pretty much but the main idea in here that what I wanted to go over was how to use the Bollingers, right? Just pretty much wait until the price or candle closes outside of the Bollinger, and then you wait for a reversal block to happen, and then you will decide if you want to enter or not. And you can use this on any time frame that you wish. You know, if you want to enter an M15, then either you decide that you want to enter an M15 reversal block using the same Bollinger on the same time frame, or you can use a higher time frame Bollinger as a filter, right? And that's pretty much it. So can we, you know, get this better? Can we work this out better? You know, at the end of the day, I think I liked it just for now, just using the Bollinger entry. That wasn't that bad. But that it really depends on the person. If you're willing to have good money management, meaning that you enter with smaller lots, and if you enter into a drawdown, eventually that trade might go on your way sooner or later, right? So what if we just remove this RSI, still leave the Bollinger under the 1 hour since it seems that it gave us better results? Then maybe we can add another filter in here. We can use a different type of filter. We can say go with the daily candle direction, or maybe use a moving average, or maybe use the MACD. I mean, in here you're gonna pretty much have all the main indicators that we can use daily to actually filter our trades, right? We can use in here, higher time frame blocks, meaning that we only want to go in the direction or of higher time frame blocks. So we can use here maybe daily. We can choose in here daily, and then let's just see, pretty much what this means is that if the daily has a bullish block, then pretty much what it's saying is only look for a bullish block on 1 hour, and that is outside of the Bollinger, right? So that is pretty much the information that we're giving the robot in here for us to, instead of us analyzing it, well, the robot is going to give us the alert, and then we will decide if we want to take it. So you can use this as a manual entry, or you can use this in automatic. So manual meaning you get the alert to your phone or to the MT4, and then you will decide if you want to take it, or you can have it as entered by itself, and then eventually you would monitor that trade to see where it's going, right? Whether it was not a good entry, or whether you want to leave it for a longer period of time. All right, so let's see what the result is that we get in here. Let's take a look at the graph. Okay, it looks like we only gained 142, and the drawdown was not so great, right, compared to what we made. So it only did three entries, and then that was it. So pretty much we just gotta play around with this, and of course when you have more pairs working around, some pairs might be in positive, some pairs might be in negative, and then eventually it's going to balance out. Of course, we want to be more on the positive side instead of the negative side. But you have the robot here where you can pretty much filter out and use any time frame or any settings that you actually like. I mean, you have a lot of settings in here that you can play around with. That it's gonna help a lot with your entries. So you don't, some people are scared of robots or EAs because they think that this is going to enter for them automatically. But the way I did it was, hey, give me an alert, filter it out for me, and then I'll decide if I want to enter or not, right? So it's already doing the filter for you for 10 pairs or 20 pairs, and then you will decide again if you want to enter or not, but at least it's already doing the work for you, the initial work, which is filtering. You can analyze 10 pairs and see if all of them are following the higher time frame trend, or if it was outside of the Bollinger. Those little things, those little details that eventually we have to capture and decide if we want to enter or not, right? So I'm going to add in here, instead of going with the higher time frame block, then actually go with the daily block, okay, with the daily candle. I'm sorry. So in here I'm just saying if the daily candle is bullish, then look for bullish or buying entries, and the other way around. So let's take a look in here. What is it that we can get by using this type of filter? Okay, so let's check this out. Let's take a look at the graph. Okay, this was not bad at all, right? This looks looks better than before. So this was $652. It did 14 entries. My drawdown was 0.85%, so that's not really that bad. This is more conservative, but still on a good side, okay? So this is pretty much it, the way that you use the filters, and then eventually I'm going to have more videos using each filter, but for right now you were able to see that we use different type of filters. We use the RSI, we use the higher time frame block, we use the daily candle. So we pretty much mixed around filters. I know it can get confusing and a little bit overwhelming because you're not sure which one is the one that works best. It's just that it's a matter of spending some time in here, choosing the right time frame, and just pretty much picking just 2 filters the most, and then play around with it. And then once you get the alert, you're going to be able to decide at the end of the day if you want to take it or not. But nothing is perfect. The market is not perfect. The market is just we're doing the best of the analysis to enter and make the pips, but it's never going to be a best or a better entry or the best entry out there. It's just gotta play around with it and let those winnings, like this type of trade, let it run for a longer period of time. And those ones that are losing, kind of analyze quick and say, what, this thing is not good, let me just get out of it and let me cut it short before it goes for a longer period, right? So this is it. If you have any questions, please, you can email me or join the Telegram channel, subscribe to the channel. You can write a comment or even ask a question on the YouTube channel, and then I would answer as the best of my ability, and I will see you around. Thank you.